back to my channel for another video. So today is going to be a really exciting video. I've been planning this video out for months and I'm so excited to finally be filming it. Everybody knows it's the month of October, and for me, the month of October is the month of love, it's the month of romance, it's the month of pink, red, flowers, candy, cards. It's the month of love. I think there's no other way to celebrate the month of love, the month of February, Valentine's Day, than reading romance books. We all know that Valentine's Day is coming up, and I think romance books are one of the best ways you could possibly celebrate Valentine's Day is by reading about romance and escaping into the world of romance books. And for a lot of people, the world of reading can be overwhelming in general, but definitely the world of romance books can be overwhelming. If you want to read romance but you're definitely a beginner, you don't know where to start, you don't know anything about the world of books, and definitely you don't know anything about the world of romance books, then this video is for you, because we are doing the ultimate guide to romance books for beginners. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this video. And I just love talking about books, but talking about romance books just does something for me. Like, everybody knows that I'm a romance girly. At the end of the day, there's nothing more that I want to read than just a good romance book. And I have over 15 book recs for you today. And we're just gonna go over what all the romance book world entails, what it is, what genres there are, what tropes there are. And at the end of this video, I'm just gonna give you a whole bunch of starter romance book recs that you can read as a beginner. And yeah, I think we're just gonna go ahead and get into it. So the romance world is a plethora of different subgenres and tropes, and I'm here to guide you through them, because let's be honest, the world of romance books can be really overwhelming and really chaotic, but I promise it's in the best way possible. So starting off, we're gonna talk about what romance books are. What is a romance book? So a romance book is a general love story between characters, typically with an emotionally satisfying happy ending. And so if you're somebody who doesn't really like unpredictable endings or doesn't really like not knowing what's gonna happen, I think the romance genre is definitely for you, because for the most part, at the end of the day, unless it's a specific subgenre of a romance book, you're going to get a happy ending, and you're gonna get a lot of fun things along the way to get to that happy ending. So if you are somebody who enjoys kind of knowing what's gonna happen at the end of your book, what's gonna happen at the end of the story, not even knowing what's gonna happen, but kind of like the general idea of the ending of the story, which is gonna be that the two main characters are gonna end up together and it's gonna be a happy ending, then I would definitely recommend romance books for you, because that's usually what you're gonna get, is a happy ending. Why should you read romance? I think there's a bunch of different reasons why people should read romance. First of all, reading romance is just fun. Like, it's just so fun. There's so many different subgenres and tropes that are just so fun to read about, and just escaping into that world of romance where you can read about a billionaire, or you can read about romantasy, like pirate, you can read about chemists, you can read about whatever you want, literally, and have it be a romance. It just is so fun. And then another reason why you should read romance is because honestly, men in real life can just suck really badly, and so reading about men that have been written by women are just like chef's kiss. Another reason why I think you should read romance is because there's no shame in your game. Like, there is a book out there for everybody in the world of romance. It doesn't matter what you like. And the reason why I say there's no shame in your game is because, like I said, it doesn't matter what you like. You like what you like, and that's okay. And it's just the fact that you can like what you like, and there is going to be a book out there for you in the world of romance books, that just makes it 10 times better to be able to read about whatever it is that you want to read, and you can read about it through the lens of the world of romance. Next, we're going to get into romance subgenres. So what is a romance subgenre? A romance subgenre organizes romance books by categorization. So we have fantasy romance, we have sports romance, we have YA romance, we have dark romance, LGBTQ plus romance, erotic romance, rom-coms. We have so many different subgenres of romance, and it gets so overwhelming. But that's why I said there's a book out there for everybody, because literally there is a book out there for everybody, no matter what you like. Next, we're going to talk about romance tropes. What is a romance trope? A romance trope is a theme used within a romance book, giving a recognizable starting point to the story that a reader can recognize. There can be multiple tropes for the same book. Tropes, I feel like tropes are where it gets really, really fun. Like, once you choose your subgenre, you can choose a trope, and I think that's probably the most fun part. You have your billionaire romances, you have your academic romances, you have your age gap romance, you have your arranged marriage romance, you have your athletic romance, fake dating, enemies to lovers. There's so many different tropes to choose from, and I think that's where the customization really comes in, is because you get to choose a romance book that's fantasy, but it's fake dating, or it's enemies to lovers. You get to choose a sports romance where it's enemies to lovers or fake dating. Like, there's so many different ways to go about choosing a romance book, and that's why I said it can get overwhelming, but that's why I'm here to help you out with some book rec. Kind of, since now that we've kind of broken down what the romance book world is and what's in it, now we're going to get into some book recs where you can decide what it is that you're wanting to read. I'm going to go ahead and also put like the subgenre and the tropes up also, and my ratings for them, and I am just so excited, and we're just gonna go ahead and start. So the first book I have is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. It's about a third-year PhD candidate who is trying to convince her best friend that she doesn't like someone that her best friend has recently started dating, because she did like her before her best friend kind of started dating him. So she starts fake dating a professor on campus, and his name is Adam Carlson. And Ali Hazelwood's writing is so funny and so relatable in so many ways. Her characters are so likable and so funny, and I highly recommend any Ali Hazelwood book, but I really, really love this one. It was a fun read, and it's super short, not too many pages, so if you don't want a super long book that's just funny and fun and relatable, definitely pick up The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This one is definitely a really great starter romance. Next, we have All the Bright Places. This one is if you're into something a little bit more on the sad side. Definitely check the trigger warnings if you read this, because there is some mention of suicide and things like that. So definitely check the trigger warnings on this one if you are wanting to read this one. But this one just touched my heart so much, and it was so sad. If you're a person who loves to cry, definitely pick up this one. This one was definitely a tough read, but it was really, really good. They also made it into a show, but I haven't seen, no, they made it into a movie. They also made it into a movie, so that's a plus. So if you want to read the book and then watch the movie, I would definitely highly recommend. This one is about a girl named Violet and a boy named Finch, and they meet on the edge of the bell tower of their school because Violet was planning to jump, and Finch convinces her to come down from the ledge. After that, they end up getting stuck on a school project together, and Finch convinces her to go to all these places and kind of see the light and the good in the world, not knowing that he's struggling with his own things. So their romance kind of starts there. And like I said, again, check the trigger warnings on this one. This one's a little bit more on the heavier side, but definitely still a really, really good book. Next is going to be Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This one is a romantasy, and I love this book so freaking much. Like, you don't understand. It's one of those romantasies that's kind of set in like war history times, but there's romance and fantasy mixed in with that. So this is an enemies to lovers romance. Actually, this is a romantasy, so a fantasy romance with a trope of enemies to lovers. So this is about Iris and Roman, who work at the Oath Gazette, and they are both competing for the top writers spot. At this job, Iris has a typewriter, and that typewriter ends up being magic, and she writes these letters to her brother who is off at war and slips them under her wardrobe, not really expecting anything to come from it. But one day she gets a letter back from underneath her wardrobe, not expecting it. And that is kind of where her whole journey begins. And I won't say too much, but it is so good. And if you want to read a romance, this is it. This is the one. It is kind of slow in the beginning, but once it picks up, it is so good, and I love it so much. So definitely pick this one up if you're looking for a romantasy. Next is going to be Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. This is the first book in a series. This is the first book in the Bargainer series. So this is about Calypso, and when she was a little girl, I think she was around 14 or 15, she accidentally killed her stepfather. The Bargainer, who is basically kind of like seen as the devil in this story, covers it up for her, and he basically saves her from anyone finding out that she killed her stepfather. And so the Bargainer does favors for people. They're kind of like IOUs, and these people basically owe him a favor if he does a favor for them. He didn't charge Calypso for that favor pertaining to her stepdad because she was a minor at the time. So a couple years pass, and Calypso ends up kind of going to school but feeling lonely, and so she calls on the Bargainer for a favor, which is give him these IOUs in exchange for his time for just hanging out with her. A couple years pass, they fall out, and he ends up coming back into her life randomly, saying that you owe me these IOUs, I need your help. And something is going down in his land, something is wrong in his land. There's women and children going missing, coming back in coffins, not dead, but just in an eternal sleep, and he needs Calypso to help him find out what's going on. That was a long description, but I promise you that didn't spoil anything in the book. Like, this book was actually kind of insane. It kind of reminds me of ACOTAR, but in a completely different way. There's 4 books in the series, but if you want a romantasy that's not, again, super long, but really easy to follow, there's not a ton of world building or anything like that. They go into the world building more as the story goes on, but this is a really good starter series for somebody who's wanting to get into romance but not wanting something that's too confusing. This is your book. This is for you. Next is going to be Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. You guys know I will always recommend Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. So this is about Bree and Archer. This is a story about how Archer goes mute because something happened to him during his childhood that caused him to go mute. And now he's a grown-up, and everybody in town kind of thinks he's weird, like doesn't really want to associate with him because of what happened to him when he was younger. And so Bree moves to this town, and everybody's kind of telling her about Archer because she starts asking about him. And everybody's kind of telling her, oh, stay clear of him, like he's kind of weird, like something happened to him when he was younger, like he's just not good to be around. And she kind of ignores everything that everybody's saying about him and kind of wants to form her own conclusions about who he is, and wants to know about what happened to him from Archer himself. And so that's kind of where their story begins, and this book is just chef's kiss. I love this book so much, and it will always be one of my favorite romances. I will always recommend it to anybody who wants to get into romance. I absolutely fell in love with this book, and this book absolutely made me fall in love with reading again. It was one of the first romance books that I ever read, and I definitely highly recommend it to anybody who is wanting a standalone romance book. Next, we are getting into the dark romance books. These are for all my girlies who kind of want a little something a bit more on the edgier side. So the first one is going to be Does It Hurt by H.G. Carlton. This book is kind of insane. Definitely check the trigger warnings on this book because it can get really intense more towards the end of the book, but I highly recommend it if you're looking for something a little bit more on the edgier side. This is about a girl who scams people for a living, and she ended up scamming the wrong man, and that man is Enzo Vitale. And just the way that their romance comes about is like kind of insane. But again, if you want something more on the edgier side, definitely pick up this one. Check the trigger warnings, but this one was honestly so good in ways that you wouldn't expect. And so I definitely highly recommend this one if you're looking for a dark romance with kind of like an enemies to lovers trope. Definitely pick this one up. Next is going to be Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is a Peter Pan and Wendy retelling. This is a dark romance as well. This is about Captain Hook and Wendy, and this is about their story and how they become lovers. And just everything about this book was honestly so good. I really loved watching the author kind of sprinkle in little treasures here and there about how she refers back to the actual story of Peter Pan and Wendy and everything like that. Again, check some of the trigger warnings. This one isn't as heavy as Does It Hurt, but this one is a pretty short read. It's really fun and really edgy. And again, if you're looking for something more on the darker side, Hooked is the way to go. It's a really, really good starter book and introduction book into the world of dark romance without it being too crazy for people who are just getting into it. This one is also considered a dark romance. So we have Credence by Penelope Douglas. This book is for a specific group and type of people. I will say, definitely, if you are going to read this, check the trigger warnings. You need to check the trigger warnings on this because this book gets freaking crazy, you guys, okay? This is about Tiernan, and her parents pass away and she ends up going to live with her step uncle and her step cousins, and she ends up having a romance with all three of them. And that is kind of where this story is heading. Is we're getting into the step uncle, the step cousins. They're not really related, but it's close enough, which is why I say check the trigger warnings on it, because this is definitely not a book for everyone. But when I tell you I ate it up, I understand why the girlies like this book. Definitely check it out if you're looking for something edgier and a little bit more not on the traditional side when it comes to the romance world. Credence is definitely one for you if you're looking for something kind of in that realm. Next is going to be Neon Gods. This is a Persephone and Hades retelling, and this one, when I tell you the spice level on this one, 5 hot chili peppers. 5 freaking hot chili peppers, y'all. This book was so good. I love a Persephone and Hades retelling. This was my first one ever, and I loved it so much. It was so good. This is about Persephone, and she is being forced to marry Zeus. Zeus in this story is the bad guy. He is not a good guy. He is very self-centered, not somebody that Persephone wants to marry. So she ends up fleeing to the Undercity, which is basically Hades' territory. Once Hades finds out that Persephone can give him a little slice of revenge towards Zeus, he vows to protect her until they can fulfill that quest. And so definitely check this one out if you want a Hades and Persephone retelling. This one is so good. I loved it so much. Next, I'm going to do Twisted Love by Anna Wong. This book, y'all, so good. So good. This is a billionaire romance. Anna Wong is known for her billionaire romances, and they're so good. Something about Alex Volkov. Something about him, y'all. Something about him, okay? This book is by no means like a literary masterpiece, but it is so fun to read. Anna Wong, to me, is known for her plots being pretty tame throughout the first half of the book, but then once you hit that second half, shit just starts hitting the fan once you hit that second half. And I think that's the most entertaining about her books, and I definitely think you should check this one out if you're looking for a fast, fun read that's gonna get you into romance. This one is definitely it. Next is gonna be Twisted Lies by Anna Wong. This is another billionaire romance. This is what she does best. She writes billionaire romances. This is about Christian Harper and Stella Alonso. Stella Alonso is an influencer in this book, and Christian Harper owns a security company. So Stella ends up having this stalker, and Christian Harper being the owner of a huge security company, vows to keep her safe as long as he needs to in order for her to feel safe once her stalker is caught. And just a whole thing ensues, and just this book was so good. I loved it so much. And the main female character is a black girl, was written as a black girl, and I love that so much. If you're wanting to read something with a black main female character for Black History Month, this one will be the one for you. This one is a little bit longer, but I didn't mind it. I loved it so much. This one is also a great starter series. Next is going to be Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is a childhood best friends to lovers trope, and I love this book so much. This is about Macy and Elliot, and Macy and her dad end up going up to the mountains and staying the summer in their summer house, and that's where she meets Elliot, and they become childhood best friends because they both like to read, and their relationship kind of goes from there. Something happens that causes them not to talk to each other for a really long time into their adulthood, and they end up meeting each other again, and Elliot kind of wants to know why Macy just kind of stopped talking to him, didn't really say anything else to him when that thing happened that caused her to not talk to him anymore. He doesn't really know why. She just kind of just fell off the face of the earth and stopped talking to him. And so they kind of go and relive what happened, and their relationship is just so cute, and I just love them so much. It's kind of sad in some parts, but that's okay. It's one of those books that will rip your heart out and then put it right back in your chest. I say that all the time. I love it so much, and I definitely think this is a great starter book for you to read if you are trying to get into romance. Next is going to be the 7-Year Slip. This is centered around food and travel. This is about Clementine and Iwan, and I love their relationship so much. It's so cute. I love it so much. So this is about Clementine, who used to be really close with her aunt, and she used to stay at her apartments, and they would travel together during the summertime, and they just had a really close relationship with each other. Her aunt would tell her all these stories about how her apartment was magic, and she met one of the loves of her life through this apartment that was magic, and Clementine never really believed her until her aunt passed away, and her aunt left the apartment to her, and this magic apartment helps her meet young Iwan, who is the male love interest in this story, and their story kind of starts there, and she is like determined to find him in present time because she met young Iwan, but she doesn't know who present Iwan is, and so she kind of is looking for him, trying to find out where he is and what he's doing. I love this book so much. I rated this book a 5 stars. I loved it so much, and this is one of those books that's like near and dear to my heart, and I definitely highly recommend it to anybody who's trying to get into the romance book world. Next is going to be The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. You don't understand how much I enjoyed this book. This was a 6 stars for me. I love this book so much. This is a sports romance, and this is a trope of forced proximity, fake marriage, fake dating. This is about Vanessa and Aiden. Aiden is from Canada, and he's an NFL player, and he is trying to get his papers because he is originally from Canada, and he asks his ex-assistant Vanessa to marry him so he can get his papers. In exchange for that, he is going to pay off her student debt, and they're required to be married for 5 years in order for him to get his papers, and their story kind of starts there. And Vanessa just kind of wonders, okay, you're a famous football player, you could marry anybody in the world and they would happily oblige. I don't want to marry you, so why does it have to be me? It's kind of on the longer side, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. Like, I enjoyed every single page of this book, and this is one of the only books I have read where I can justify it being almost 500 pages long. I wish it was longer. I love Aiden Graves so much. I love Vanessa so much. I love Mariana Zapata's writing so much, and definitely if you're looking to to get into Mariana Zapata or just a sports romance in general, this one is definitely the one for you. Lastly is going to be Flawless by LT Silver. I just recently finished this book and it was so good. It's like set in like modern day times, but it's about cowboys, and farms and ranches, and I love it so much. It was so fun. This is about a rodeo bull rider named Rhett Eaton and his agent Summer. This is like a forbidden romance trope and I loved it so much. It was so freaking good. So this is about Rhett Eaton, who's a bull rider, and he ends up falling for his agent named Summer, but they're not really allowed to be together. He's trying to keep his reputation clean and everything like that, and he can't really do that if he's dating his agent. So their love is kind of forbidden. That's kind of where their story starts, and I loved it so much. It kind of reminded me of my childhood when I would go down to the country with my grandparents and we'd mess with the cows and the horses, and I loved it so much, and it was so good. So definitely pick this one up if you're looking for a quick, easy read. Kind of if you like cowboys, rodeos, bull riding, that kind of thing, definitely check this one out. This one was definitely a new and exciting read for me. I haven't read anything really like it before, so I definitely enjoyed this one. Those are all the book recs I have for you today. I hope you found one in this giant stack of books that you want to read as a starter in the romance book world. If you did, definitely make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and I guess I'll see you guys whenever I see you guys next. Bye!